changing how you eat, changing, working out, all that is not enough. Like, you got to deal with your life itself and how it moves. So I had to start looking at where's my time going and where's my stress coming from, and start delegating. So I had to rely on my team. I had built a team, for many, many years, but now I really needed them. I had to delegate responsibilities to different ones and just not show up to meetings, not come to the things that were going on, like let go. And that was probably the hardest thing, is just realizing you have to let go, like completely let go. Michael E. Parker here, and I want to talk to you about something so important. Have you ever been in a situation where you reached a breaking point? Have you ever been at a point where your health is actually got to a point where it's interrupting your life, it's interrupting your business, it's interrupting your family? Have you ever been to a point where it may be time to consider doing something different? You may have to take a different approach because life has gotten serious. And it's amazing to me. I always tell people you're just one doctor's appointment away from a dramatic change in your life, just one doctor's appointment away. And I want to tell you about a time where I actually was at that breaking point, and I actually had a situation where, I just could have collapsed. I could have, really lost my way, but I was able to actually understand and gain some knowledge to actually help me move deeper and further in the things that is required to be a successful leader in life, successful in the things that you do while not losing yourself and not losing your health. And so what better way to do this is than on location here at Half Moon Bay. And I'm here at Half Moon Bay, and you can see a wonderful backdrop here. You can see there's a lot going on out here, water everywhere. And I want, just to set the tone of how important it is to have moments like this in your life, where you really step away, you get away from certain things that are stopping you from, actually just decompressing and taking a moment. I never, forget the moment where, we were moving into the pandemic, and I had a lot of responsibilities on me. I had several businesses that I was operating and overseeing, and trying to figure out how all these businesses could win, and still trying to understand what was going on with this pandemic. I mean, people were dying, people were getting sick. There was all kinds of issues that were coming about, and there was not a lot of correct information to know what was true, what was false, what could you believe, what should you not believe. There was all the conspiracy theories, and you just didn't know what to really do, right? And then I had businesses that were in industries where you basically had to, be mandated to close your business, right? So we had a salon that had been in business for, close to 2 decades at the time, and we were mandated to close our doors. That means you can't make money, and we've got all of these team members, right, that depend on us to make sure we have an environment where they can work and support their families. And so all the stress of that was just continuing. I was thinking about so many things we could do. The landlord that we were working with just would not work with us. We tried to get, some sort of adjustment, being that, everything had changed with the pandemic. We were forced to close, but they still required us to pay the rent and to do everything as if we were still open. And so, this was just backbreaking. And then there was so many things going on politically, right? So many things that were happening. And, in the midst of all that, there were businesses that, were dependent on customers being in a certain mood, customers being in a certain mindset, so we could do business, right? We could get things done. And believe it or not, we had to figure out, how do we now keep people encouraged about, moving forward with that product, moving forward with that service? How do we provide and deliver our products and services in new ways? Then there are some other responsibilities in my life, right? So as a minister, I oversee several different churches working together with a brotherhood and a leadership of ministers, but I have a very, very critical role among those ministers to oversee and make sure that the entire operation is going a certain way and everything is going right. And there was a lot happening. We had a lot of leaders that had a lot of things going on, and, not everyone could do everything. We had to keep people safe. And there was this big demand from not just here in America, but all over the world, where people who are associated with our churches were looking for ways to stay connected, looking for ways to, remain a part of all the things that we do. And there was all these people sitting at home because we couldn't go to our normal facilities because we were concerned about, what could happen to people. And we want to make sure we take care of our elderly and those who might be immunocompromised. So you had all of this going on, right? And then, we just didn't have all the information we have today. And also it was a certain strain of this particular COVID, issue that was really, really causing a lot of impact on people's health in a big way. Like, this wasn't just people getting sick. These were people dying. So we had to take this seriously. So it was just stress everywhere. I remember, a particular time that my wife had went and got tested, and it showed that she had a positive test. And this was early on when people were dying left and right, and just the stress of those moments, right? And found out the people that took the test didn't do it right. And, they weren't keeping the protocols like they should. And that caused her to get a reading that wasn't true. But the stress of that, right? Having to have her go in another room and wondering, did any of us in the house have it? And then what was going to happen to her? Just all these things that you're trying to work through and trying to figure out. So all this stuff, sometimes we don't realize the compounding effect of all these different stressors that are maybe loading on, right? And so all of that was going on. And so right away, I had to focus on kind of a new operation where we could hold our meetings online, just like many other businesses had to do, holding our meetings online, finding new ways to communicate, using, all kinds of different creative ways to keep our operations going. But also with all of the church responsibilities, I had to think about new ways of us having church services, right? So for a long period of time, I was, hosting services at my corporate office because we had good technology and setup to do it. We could keep people safe. And so we just had a core group of leaders, eventually some of our musicians, and we did some creative things to, really begin to bring our church services back to life. And, almost for a straight year, 3 times a week, I was, just constantly, holding Bible studies and teaching, and we were doing all kinds of things to keep people spiritually minded, right? And you learn very quickly that, when you don't stay in the right environment and you're trying to live a life that is righteous, you're trying to do things right. If you're not in the right environment, you'll find quickly how you can just go to places you don't want to go and people that you used to be and not the person you're trying to become. So all these things were going on. And so imagine now all of this is hitting and all of this is going on, and I'm not realizing the impact that it is having on me. And this is one of the things I want you to realize is sometimes when we're doing a lot of different things, we don't realize the impact that it is having on us, right? And so I never forget actually realizing that I had come down with a condition called esophagitis, where your esophagus is inflamed. And I didn't know what was going on, but I noticed I was feeling these weird feelings, and my food was going down kind of funny. And it was just a weird, experience. And I didn't know that one of the side effects of esophagitis is feeling like something's on your chest and feeling like, there's this pressure on your chest, like a brick's on your chest, right? So I'm, going about and I'm noticing these kind of weird things I'm feeling and stuff, but, I'm just thinking, maybe I just need to get some rest. Like that's always been a big solution for my life. Yeah, you need to get some rest. I go to the doctor, you need to get some rest. You need to get some rest, right? So what happened was I began to feel that feeling so much so that I went to the doctor. And I didn't tell nobody. I just left the house and I went to the doctor. So I need to find out what's going on. And so I go to the doctor, go to the hospital, and he does all these normal things that you would do. Someone come to the hospital, check me out. And the next thing I know, he says, well, let's do an EKG. So he does an EKG. And he does EKG, and then he kind of looks, he's not really saying anything. So then he said, well, let's do it again. So I said, okay, cool, let's do it again. So we do it again. He comes back again, and he says, well, I don't want to alarm you. He said, how do you feel right now? I was like, well, I feel fine, except, of course, the things that I came here for and this and that, want to understand this or that. I feel fine. He says, well, actually, like, according to our readings, you're having a heart attack. I said, excuse me? He said, yeah, you're having a heart attack. I'm saying, what you mean? I'm having a heart attack. Well, sometimes these things don't read exactly right, but that's what this says. So I need you to go to emergency, which is not far from there. I'm like, so if you wasn't having a heart attack before, when someone tells you, a doctor, that you're having one, you start having one, right? That's how you feel, right? So right away, they asked me, did I want to have an ambulance go? I said no, because I knew where it was right up the street, and I know the cost of getting an ambulance, and I felt like I could go over there. So I went ahead. I still, even though I was stressed and nervous about all this, I still said I'll drive over there though and save on that. And so went over there to the emergency and started to get checked out. My blood pressure was very high, and they did the EKG again and found out that it said I wasn't having a heart attack. And this was just like a bad reading, an anomaly of, all of this. But just the overall situation, and then the stress of that began to contribute to this esophagitis that I had that started to get worse, where like it feels like you basically can't swallow, right? So you have to go down to soft foods and, all kinds of things until it kind of heals. And there's no way to fix it. There's not like a medicine you can take. It's like inside of your esophagus. And the only way to deal with it is you have to, allow it to heal itself. So basically that's what I began to go through this process for many, many, many months. And while doing all this stuff, you got all this stuff going on, I'm dealing with this issue where every day it literally feels like you're going to die when you're swallowing something, and it feels like it's stuck in your throat and you feel like you can't swallow, like you're going to choke or whatever. It is, I don't wish it on anybody. Any of you out there that have had this, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it is no joke, something you do not want to experience. And so all of this was really taking a toll. I've never had high blood pressure. And my A1C had went up a little bit, nothing diabetic or anything, but just went up kind of a little bit below pre-diabetic. And then it was the blood pressure. I was like, what is going on? Like, I've never had a health problem. I've always been an athlete, been in good shape. And, but I didn't realize the toll that all this was having on me, like everything I had going on. And sometimes we don't realize everything is going on and actually what is actually happening to us, right? I never forget, I tried to get away, like, went to Hawaii with some friends, my wife and some friends, and, you're in this beautiful paradise, but you can't eat right. You can't swallow. It's like this weird thing hanging over you. Like, you're always stressed. Like, what if something happened? We're going hiking, but what if something happens and I can't swallow or something? You feel like this, like any minute, it's just something gets stuck, and I remember going to a restaurant, nice restaurant, and I tried to eat, and, you're excited, you smell the food, and you just feel like normal. Like, it's time to just be normal. This is what we do. Like, we spend some time together, have fun. But then you take that bite, you swallow, and it's stuck. It just feels stuck. And you literally are trying to talk and laugh and like be okay. But you just can't get away from the fact that this thing is sitting here and you feel like you're going to die. Right. And, it's a weird thing to swallow something and realize there's a difference between your esophagus and then like your airway where you can breathe. So believe it or not, you can have something kind of stuck in your throat but still breathe. But it's weird, right? Because you feel like I shouldn't be able to breathe right now. There's something in my throat, right? And So it's a very stressful feeling. So I never forget another time in Hawaii, getting some salad, and there's a particular type of salad that kind of is like roughage and it got stuck there in my throat. And I remember I couldn't get it out. I mean, I was drinking water. I was doing all kind of, so I read online, and the other thing is no one could tell me what was going on. That was the other problem. Like no one could tell me what was happening. I was taking all these, I guess they call them PPIs, trying to help with your everything to do with your digestion and how your, indigestion and all these things that can impact this type of stuff. So I'm taking all these medicines. All these medicines got me feeling a little funny. So there was just a lot going on. So all this is stressing, and I'm online, I mean, all the time trying to research what is this, right? What can I find out about this? And I read, so I think this was so much reading I was doing. It was like all night, all the time. I'm just reading blogs, reading different documents, articles, anything I could find, trying to figure out, is there any way to make this better? I don't know if you've ever been there where you got something that has hit your life with your health, and the doctors they're not giving you enough. You just feel like, no, I'm about to figure this out because this is my health, this is my life. I'm concerned, right? So, and you know how you're feeling, right? Despite what everyone says, you know how you're feeling. So, but I read that if you get some like Coca-Cola, like even in the hospitals use this, if something's stuck in someone's throat, the acidic nature of it will, get it out. And I don't drink soda anymore. I hadn't drunk it in like many, many, many years, since I changed all my eating and all of that. And, boy, I ran to get some Coca-Cola though that day. And when I got it, it just absolved all that stuff in my throat. And I was able to feel like I could, breathe again. And this is just like a constant thing. So, I'm grateful for my wife and some of my close family that help. I mean, all kinds of things. We had smoothies and meals that we had to change and all these things that just had to change so that I could try to just have some sense of normalcy. And then I started going back, trying to figure out how to go back to certain things I needed to do. And this is what I really want to get across is that, what I found out was the only thing that helped me really begin to turn things around is, sure, I had to change some things that I was eating and things like that, but I actually had to, because one of the biggest things that I didn't realize was the problem was my manner of life, right? The lifestyle that I had of just constantly on the go, constantly doing things. So to try to recuperate and kind of just pull things together, what I had to do was I actually had to stop what I was doing. And I want to say this to anyone out there, when you get to that point, you have to realize when, changing how you eat, changing, working out, all that is not enough. Like you got to deal with your life itself and how it moves. So I had to start looking at where's my time going and where's my stress coming from and start delegating. So I had to rely on my team. I had built a team, for many, many years, but now I really needed them. And I had to delegate responsibilities to different ones and just not show up to meetings, not come to the things that were going on, like let go. And that was probably the hardest thing, is just realizing you have to let go, like completely let go. Like now, I have to not carry it and worry about it. I have to disconnect. And so you can disconnect even with your different responsibilities. You can disconnect from going to this and going to that. But the biggest disconnect is up here, right? Being able to disconnect up here in your mind and your thoughts, being able to just disconnect and really say, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust the person, and we'll work through whatever comes up that needs to be fixed, but I have to trust the process. And so I began to do that. And I want to just reiterate how when I began to trust and when I began to fully disconnect, there was a healing that started to take place. And I started to slowly start getting better. I I did lose a lot of weight, which was kind of nice, right? So because I just wasn't eating as much, and I lost a lot of weight, I started looking for the good in it. And I want to emphasize, when things come up like this, always look for the good, but be willing to do what's required. Like, you have to fight for your health. You have to fight for how you feel. You have to notice when your life is getting in the way of your life, right? I'll say that again. You have to notice when your life is getting in the way of your life. So that is what I had to begin to do. And so delegating, trusting, and then beginning to give things away and giving myself some time to recuperate and to understand it was worth it. It was worth it to take that time. It was worth it to admit that I couldn't do it all, right? And that all began to allow me to repair. And, what was really interesting about the whole thing is that, I remember going to the doctor, and I was still trying to deal with this swallowing thing. And I just felt like I'd heard some people would last for years. Some people, it's just horror stories. Like, when you're in these situations, look online and don't look online, right? It's like, it's great information, but then, oh my God, it'll have you thinking about so many things, because so many people have opinions and tell stories about what happened to them, and you just don't know what's going to happen for you. So at some point, you have to really begin to pray, and you have to do the things you know to do and be patient, right? And go through the process, but stay positive, right? You got to stay positive. So I remember going to the doctor, and I was doing all these tests, like swallowing stuff so they could watch how it goes down. I was doing all this stuff. So I went to this particular appointment, and he said, Michael, there's nothing there. At this point, it's you, how what you're thinking, what's in your mind. And it showed me how powerful the mind was, right? Because I believed I couldn't swallow as normal, which I was having that problem. I couldn't do it because I was believing it that way. That's the way I was seeing it. That's what I believe. So I would stress every time I was eating or swallowing, which would create the experience from me, my mind. And this shows, again, the power of what you think and what you believe, right? That you see this all the times when people give placebo medicine and things like that, just to find out that there was nothing in the med. They was taking water pills, right? But they believed it was helping them, and it did something. So what you believe is so important. How you think about things is so important. So I remember going home and just saying, I'm going to eat, I'm going to swallow, I'm just going to do it. And it still felt that little resistance. And I just kept doing it and kept doing it, and just saying, I'm not going to worry about how it feels. I'm not going to worry about, I'm going to start slow, but I'm going to start, chewing a little more solid foods. And it was feel like it's going out a little slower. And then slowly but surely, it got to the point where I just felt normal again. Oh my God, I was so happy just to feel normal again, just to eat and to do things just normal. You know what I mean? It was just so rewarding. And I want to say this to everyone out there that has lost your sense of normal. Don't be afraid to stop. Don't be afraid to recalculate your life. Don't be afraid to trust the process, trust the people around you when you need to make sure that you can gain yourself back. And sometimes you have to hit that reset button, right? And it doesn't have to be as dramatic as what I went through, but you have to know when it's time to hit that button. And maybe there's a different approach you need to take. Maybe there's a different way you need to do things. I'm here right now in Half Moon Bay because I needed to reset. I've learned from my past, and I have to take these moments, right? It's important. Sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes you don't want to spend the money. Sometimes you don't want to take the time, but just to get away from your norm. And even if you're just doing nothing, but just get away from your norm, just to take a look at see all that out there. You can see, really beautiful. And sometimes you got to do that. You got to step away. And so I really hope that you got something out of my journey and out of this particular episode. And I came here on location for this very purpose, to give you this experience of not only talking about resetting, but to come to you while I was resetting and show you how critical it is to make sure you take time for you and to notice when something needs to be done. And when it's time to make a decision, be the CEO of that decision. Don't look back. Do what's best for you. do what's best for your health. Because at the end of the day, we spend all of our time trying to make money. And then later in life, we spend all of our money trying to get more time. And so we have to understand time is still the most precious thing. And we have to have moments like these that we enjoy and get the most out of our life. Sometime to do that, you got to stop life so you can start life again. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, keep being the CEO of you.